Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Autism Hour, April 2022 with PlayStreet. My name is Mini Vivedi Gopinathan. I'm the founder of PlayStreet Bangalore, India. I'm an RDI consultant, OPT and a feeding therapist, an AEC program co-creator called the Play Talk program, and an Access Bars facilitator. PlayStreet is an organization that provides educational services to help the child with special needs become independent and live up to their potential. We offer parent empowerment programs and integrated schooling programs and a variety of clinical services. Now you all know that April is Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month. Hence, we wanted to bring to you the pioneers and experts in the field of autism to guide us all and spread more awareness and knowledge. Today is our 21st talk, and our incredible speaker for today is Kass Thomas. Hello, Kass. Welcome.
Hello, and thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here, and thank you for creating this, to open up more awareness and more contribution, not only to those with autism, but also to the world, to how much we can receive from them. So thank you. Compliments.
Thank you, Kass, for accepting the invitation. An amazing adventure. That is how Kass describes her life. Hers has been and is a journey of twists and turns, filled with unexpected revelations and fueled by her ambition and the courage to take the less traveled road. Her path's choices have resulted in her becoming a wildly successful international motivational speaker, author of 2 books, 7 Steps to Flawless Communication and Dancing with Riches, and a certified licensed facilitator of Access Consciousness. She's so beloved to Access Consciousness. In fact, that founder, Gary Douglas, and co-creator, Dr. Tain here, joined her in launching Access Consciousness in Europe, conducting private sessions, group training, and workshops on a variety of topics using the pragmatic tools of Access Consciousness. Kass has helped thousands of people discover their gifts and optimize their lives in over 20 countries during her journey. She has facilitated over 1,000 classes and assisted over 10,000 people directly. If we factor in the ripple effect, the lives of countless others have undoubtedly have impacted by her presence. And today also we are going to witness it. Kass was born in Boston, Massachusetts, to an unconventional and a multi-ethnic family. The one world upbringing, along with an innate curiosity to learn about different places and cultures, led her to travel to countries and master many languages. She continues to travel the world as a career and as a passion, and her words are, there is so much more that unites us that separates us. I'm going to say it again. There is so much more that unites us than separates us. And this is going to be the foundation for our conversation today. Let's begin. Yes, let's
Absolutely.
begin. Let's begin this journey of conversation, Kass. So we have already finished relationship and the movement segments, and now we are at the consciousness segment of our summit. We would like to begin with understanding consciousness. What does it mean for everyone in the world? And what does it mean to our families who have individuals with autism? And also, what does it mean to our families who are looking at our children from the lens of the current reality and trying to define normal versus something not normal?
Absolutely. And it's interesting because people, consciousness is actually who and what we are, and so that's a simplicity. We don't actually have to do anything to access the consciousness we are or be the consciousness we are. But we're so used to having to do so many things, to create things in our lives. But consciousness, and that's why I love the title of Access Consciousness. Consciousness is who we are, and what we are.
It's not that the journey of our children and their families is easy. The challenges are manifold and pervasive and present for the lifetime. And the journey does bring a lot of point of views. Thus, when we say that our point of views creates a reality, then how consciousness can help the families to start making choices that support the journey by empowering them. Please help us to understand the connection between point of views and choices.
Absolutely. I just would like to say one of the things that we talk about in Access also, and that it's just actually getting that and understanding that, is that we choose who our parents are going to be. Isn't that interesting? We
Yeah.
choose who our parents are going to be. So if we are choosing who our parents are going to be, what is that about? What is it that the parents that we choose can actually contribute to us, right? And together that we can actually open up into the world, right? And so the simplicity of these access tools, sometimes they're like a big boom because but if we choose our parents, right? If a child has autism and comes into the world with a family, a particular family, it is the unique, as I say in the 7 steps, the unique brand of magic that that family has that can be a contribution and open up a path of communication with the child. You know what I mean? So a lot of times when you have a child with, some challenges or some different ways of communicating, you're looking outside of you, looking for the right perspective, the right point of view in order to communicate with that child or to get that child to do more and have more access to things. But what if you were aware that they chose you? So it's something unique about you, right? That if you're willing to access your consciousness and your awareness about you, your path to communicating and opening up more roads for that child will be so much easier and enjoyable.
So, how do we choose to choose? How do we choose to make a choice? A
Well,
different
in
choice.
Access, yes, absolutely. Well, in Access, we ask questions, but I've got to say, one of the things I talk about the 7 steps that to flawless communication, which is a book that I wrote um, upon the inspiration of the founder of Access, Gary Douglas, because he talked to me about the way you communicate, Cass, is quite different. So you should write a book. And I'm like, why write a book? We've got so many great books with Access. He said, yes, but what you invite people to is going to be very different. So, the step one is show me the magic, recognizing what's different and unique about us,
Mm.
right? Acknowledging it because it's so easy to know and recognize what's unique and different about other people, what's so great about other people. But how often are we willing to acknowledge maybe something we've judged about ourselves, maybe something we've thought of as a limitation about ourselves? But if we're willing to look at it from a different perspective, what is it that that particular quality that we have is not a limitation, but it is actually a capacity, right? So when you're
Mm.
talking about points of view, you're talking about where you see things from, you know? So I'm looking at you in front of you. But if I were to look at you from the side, I might notice something about your cheeks that I've never even seen before. Or look at you from behind, I might notice how lovely your shoulders are, and how straight your back is. You know what I mean? So, how many different
Yes.
perspectives, how many different points of view, because points of view are the way you are looking at something or someone or your life or you or what you can do based on one perspective. So different points of view are being willing to look at something from 360 degrees. And that gives you more awareness about the different choices you have, you know? And so when we're talking about point of view and your question or choice, before you make a choice and you just see 3 options, look at things, see if you can see it from behind, from the side, from above, from below, right? From the right, from the left, and see what other choices are there waiting for you, right? That you have never even imagined were possible. And so the second step in my 7 steps to flawless communication is talk to your body. We call that, intuition. We call that a gut feeling. We call that your instincts. We call it different things. And that's really about knowing, how do you choose something that's going to create more for you? Well, if you're connected with you and you're connected with your awareness, your consciousness, your vibration, your energy, right? Then when you are talking with your body will give you a feeling of relaxation. And this is so vital when working with people with challenges in this reality. We call it autism, we call it obsessive compulsive behavior, we call it lots of different things. But it's really them being so connected with no barriers between them and who they are and what their vibration is. So if we are willing to be connected with ourselves and recognize what our awareness is, our consciousness is, our gut feelings, our intuition is, then we'll know exactly what the right thing to do for us and for our children, for example, with autism, in any given moment that will create more, that will keep us in line with our vibration. That's when dancing with the riches of our lives. Yeah. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, because I think we just stop communicating to ourselves. We just get so much lost into a physical side of autism, and we somehow are looking something to fix, something can fix the whole situation. And we just stop talking to ourselves, our bodies, our awareness, our consciousness, right? And
Yes. And when
as we, yeah.
I'm sorry, when you talk about fix, right? What have you defined as fixed? What have you defined as the right way to do something, the fixed way to do something? That may be the way it has been done thus far, right? In this world, or as we say, in this reality. However, it's a new day. Every day is a new day. And this world would be different if you weren't here. If you didn't exist here, this world would be different. And if a child that came to you with autism, or a cousin or a friend, right? We're not here, we're not in your life, your world would be different too. So when we're talking about fixing something, are we using someone else's point of view, perspective, the way they live their life as the right way to do it? Yes, the right way to do it for them. In Access, we have this thing that we call the 5 elements of intimacy, and it's about honoring you and never disregarding or disrespecting you. And that doesn't mean that in order to do that, you have to disrespect someone else or dishonor someone else. It just means that sometimes something does not work for you.
Yes.
And if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't mean that you're making someone wrong. You're just saying, listen, this is not in line with me. This is not going to allow me to have a continued connection with me. So if you would like to do something together, let's try to have a conversation and see what works for you and works for me. And it's going to be something different than the fixed way it works for other people. Because the conversation we're having, I'm sure, is different than the conversation you're having with others, Not that it's right or wrong, it's different. Why? Because it's me and it's you. If we brought someone else in, it would be different again. So in Access, we're inviting people to don't go into the wrongness of yourself because you're not responding or engaging with people in the same way others do, And this is something that's such a gift, not only to you, not only to the person that you are engaging with, but anyone around you that says, wow, I never thought about approaching that conversation in that way. That's different. So perhaps I can explore some other things. And this is for me, and maybe I didn't want to say this till the end, but that's fine. This is the gift that these kids with autism are. They're inviting, they're knocking on our door. They're knocking on, our inner vibration, asking us to be present with ourselves so that we can then be present with them.
Helping us to be more, they're helping us discover consciousness.
Yes, absolutely. And it doesn't mean that you can't, okay, demand something, especially if it's a child. You might want to put the routine together for them so that they have more ease. But don't stay on a fixed point of view. Once you've laid out the platform, there might be changes in that, thanks to you, thanks to them, and what you create together, is different than the fixed, fixing it in a way that has been defined as the right way,
So if we change the point of view of seeing them as a wrongness to what else is possible, which is the whole title of this conversation I'm having with you, what else is possible, right?
Absolutely, that we
That
have not
entire,
even imagined,
yeah,
that we haven't even imagined, because what's possible with us and someone else, that's our unique connection, which is different. I'm sure you've had that with your parents, or your siblings, you don't have the exact same conversations with your mom as you did with your dad, or with your sister as you do with your brother, or your first sister as you do with your second sister. It's different. And when you're willing to, include people in the conversations and in the interactions and in the uh, activities that you're having together, then what you're creating is we call it in this reality a bond, but that is uniquely yours. And it's so warming. It really is.
you mentioned about bodies. So I would like to have a little bit of conversation about bodies now. Movement is, anything which is living as a movement, some kind of movement. Our children, they learn through movement. So does movement created by bodies and consciousness, are they connected? What's your opinion on this?
Well, more than my opinion on this, the awareness that there is so much movement every second in our bodies, inside our bodies, Next, as we talk about, we are infinite beings, right? And so we have chosen to incorporate, embody, a physical body inside of which we have lots of cells moving around, lots of molecules in the cells moving around inside the cells moving around in the body. There's water, lots of water in the body. There's lots of space in the body. There's organs that are beating. There's so much movement every second in our body, thankfully. I mean, your heart is moving, right? It is beating, isn't it? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, let me check. Yes, it is.
But
Yes.
sometimes, darling, sometimes we're so disconnected from our bodies that we actually don't even feel the heartbeat. I suggest to people, and like I said, this is the step 2, talk to your body. You might need to touch your pulse, or you might need to even touch here to actually begin connecting with that beat, that's going on in your body, and then here, and then your heart. And if you just take 10 seconds in every day to connect with that beat, that rhythm that you are and your body is, then you've actually connected also with one of the rhythms on this planet. Because as you walk on this planet, you are one of the beats, one of the rhythms, that exist here, right? So once you begin connecting with your inner beat vibration, right, then you begin acknowledging and having awareness about the things and people around you, the choices that you make that are in line with that vibration, that don't give you a little bit of, you know, that actually allow you to enjoy and connect continuously with the movement going on inside of your body. And as you walk, and as you talk, and as you communicate, and as you engage with people, no matter what they have going on in their lives, you are aware of when you are communicating in your flawless way or when you're actually trying to be or do, right, or act as something else that's not in line with you, you know? And so the movement of your body with your body, when you are connected with you and your body and your being and your soul, your spirit, um, your even your mind, you know, you have so much more joy,
Mm.
so much more ease, and so much more abundance and exuberant expression of life. And that's the mantra of access consciousness. All of life, all of life, all of life, all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. And glory is abundance and exuberant expression. And so ease does not have to be easy. It might not be something routine that you're used to, right? But what you're used to may not be in line with in your vibration. So with ease, meaning that it actually allows you to be in step, even with the energy of change, and using these access consciousness tools, it's amazing. That's the subtitle of my Dancing with Riches book, really. Because so many of us have so many in different areas of our lives, situations that show up that are, connect with your body, the movement of your body. Your breathing changes. You become more at ease. And so, whatever is the right choice for you, which may be different than someone else at that moment, for you at that moment, that would allow you to continually have life show up with ease, you'll be aware of. It's your, like I was saying, your instinct, your intuition. Yeah. And
That
your
was
body movement.
that was such a beautiful explanation. Move to the next question, and I'm taking this question from one phrase which you used, that our bodies and minds are connected. You just said, right? So, in the entire summit, we have been talking about mind body disconnect. Our lovely individuals, they have awareness around them and understand everything that is happening around them, all thoughts, feelings, and emotions. But their bodies do not listen to their minds. We learned in one of the talk that our kids are stuck in motor loops, having poor coordination, poor motor skills. That's the reason their independence is affected. And some kids are non-speakers too. Thus, we say that, I say that our children are spaceships locked into the bullock carts, which is body, and their bodies limit them. So, in other words, the individuals have immense awareness of everything happening around them, everything happening 8,000 miles around them, but their own body awareness is poor. You have an expertise in understanding bodies. Suggest us that how can we help our children to connect to their bodies better so that they can use their bodies to be independent in day-to-day tasks, to be more conscious with themselves, right? As it will not just reduce stress of the caregivers, but it would also enhance the self-image of that that individual for himself.
Yes. And you were saying that the body doesn't listen to the mind. You
Mm.
know, there's, what do you consider more complicated, our bodies or our minds?
In my opinion, it's bodies.
Okay, yeah. And where do opinions come from? The mind.
The mind,
So
yes.
so is it the body that doesn't listen to the mind, or is it the mind that doesn't listen to the body?
It could be both the ways.
Yeah, yeah,
Why
it can be, but
let's not make a
yeah,
conclusion that it's just one way. It could be both the ways.
absolutely. And thank you so much for saying that, because when what I talk about and share with people, that a lot of times we don't know when we're talking about communication, right? Sometimes we think it is a one-way street. You have to listen to me, right? Or I have to listen to you. But just like you said, which I love, it's it's a two-way street, minimum,
Hmm.
you know, at minimum. So what is the invitation for not only your body to be connected with your mind, but your mind to be connected with your body? And I'm going to tell you, darling, it is one of the most unique adventures and voyages and travel that you can have if you are willing to engage both with your mind and your body, not making one right or one wrong, just like you were saying, and know that it's a two-way street. And actually, you can negotiate,
And you have to
you
teach
know?
us all those tools, Cass.
Yeah, well, that's what I do. That's what
Yes.
I don't know if we have, the 3 days of body class time
Yes.
here for 3 days, or for the my 2 day 7 steps to flawless communication explosion. It's an invitation. It's a class that it's very engaging with people, and what we are doing is in inviting you to meet you, you know, permit me to introduce you to yourself. Sometimes you've never really met. It's a great song too, that about that. But a lot of times when we are having opinions, points of views, judgments, exclusions, right? We're not opening up the doors to a flow of communication with our minds and with our bodies. The mind is quite structured sometimes. I know with the autism, the right and the left brain are not as structured as those without autism. So that's why, from these structured mind perspectives, autism is like, what? We've got a point of view about it. We got an opinion about it, right? That if we're actually willing to be in communication with our being, with the essence of who we are, you know, which is very accessible through the beat of our hearts, that is the essence of who we are, then the communication with the mind is not judgmental. It's not exclusive. It's an invitation for the mind to expand the zone of awareness and find some choices and some experiences for us, for our bodies, for our lives, that only the mind maybe knows about. So how can we engage with our bodies in a different way? How can we engage with our minds in a different way? And how can we have this communion that is a conversation, a communication that is never ending and is making life so much more delightful? I'm in while we're talking now, I'm in the USA, the United States of America. And I was born and raised here in this lifetime. And seeing so many friends, you know, seeing so many family members, seeing so many places where I've lived and, experienced things, I know that the treasures and the jewels and the gems of our lives are the experiences we've had. And sometimes with our minds, we're actually looking at that as good things or bad things,
Hmm.
right? As, positive or negative things, right? As things that were right that we did and things that were wrong that we did. what if there is no way you can do you wrong? You know, your mind doesn't have to go into judgment of you, because everything that we have done, every experience that we've had, has come together to make us who we are right now. So when we're talking about choices, you know, our bodies can actually give us the awareness of what is the choice today that's going to bring us more consciousness, more ease, more space, and more possibilities right away. And our minds are often trying to structure it in a way that makes sense. You know, in Access, we've been talking about changing tracks, you know, going from what's right and what's wrong to what is going to create more for us in the future that maybe we've never even considered because we don't have it logically identified in our minds. Anyway, it's I hope that it's helpful. Yeah.
Like, how beautifully you have summarized consciousness once again, that it's not that separates right and wrong, it's what unites, that okay, what is going to create greater. And
Absolutely.
another,
And when you're communicating, what you have considered wrong might be the only approach that you can have to someone else, because that might be the way they have lived their lives, the way they have been communicated to, the way they communicate with other people. And if you're, you know, if you're willing to say, and this is something, wow, I don't know why this is I'm just coming up with this question for you, or I'm just coming up with this memory that I have. I don't know if it makes any sense to you. That's following your intuition. That's something that your body has reactivated in you. And your mind is like, what? Don't say that. But it's someone's, you know, you say that and someone's like, I can't believe you said that to me. No one has said that to me ever. And that's exactly the way I see the world, you know? So when you're connected with your body and allowing your body to really give you some instinct, some awareness, some access to the consciousness that you have, you are, and you be infinite, the infinite, you know, way of saying, I am, you are, he is, she is, but we be infinite. And so having access to your body allows you to articulate that awareness, that consciousness, using your mind to put it into words that actually are in a language that someone understands.
while you were talking about bodies, one awareness which came to me, that if we learn to communicate with our own bodies, I think we just automatically connect to our children automatically in some way.
And recognize, absolutely, absolutely. But you know, the thing is, what if we're already connected?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
when you're connecting with your body, you know when you begin disconnecting. This is what I, you know, in the 7 steps, steps 3 and 4 are about disconnection, recognizing when you are disconnected from who you are. But if you don't first connect with who you are, how do you know if you're disconnected? You know? So recognizing, getting in touch with that difference that you are and not judging it, talking with your body, hearing your body, listening to your body, um, I always invite people, what is the one joke that you could tell, that you could say to yourself, to your body, that would make you laugh? And only you would laugh at it. You know, you might want to try and, you know, say it to someone else, but it's just with you and your body, getting that intimacy with your body, that connection with your body, and feeling that ease in your body, that comfortability in your body, that, you know, when you are disconnected, when something has, you know, made you nervous, or, you know, made you go into rigidity, that is also communication with your body. Wow, your body's saying, "Wow, hey, body, what's going on? Why are you feeling that way? Is there something I need to be aware of?" You know, so that lowering your barriers, right? So that you can actually see, like we were talking about, the choices that you can't see if you have up barriers. Sometimes we get them up so high, you know, and also not trying to pretend that you have to be a certain way, you know. You can say it and use your mind to say it in whatever way someone else receives it. You know, you might say, "Hey, I'm really sorry that I have to ask you this question, but do you actually know anything about body movement?" You know, and someone's like, "Oh, don't be sorry you asked me that question," and boom, maybe that's the way they need to hear it, you know, so that they can share it with you, whatever that is. But be willing, really, to be who you are and stay connected with you, so that when you engage with someone, especially who communicates in a different way, like you were talking about, some children with autism, they don't have the linguistic capacities that most people in this world have, but the first language is energy. And so the way that they communicate, you know, is through full images, almost like a movie, you know, the whole journey through an energetic communication. And then our body receives all that, and it's like, wow, that's amazing. Okay, now let me use my mind to articulate it into different phases and structure it. But when we're willing to communicate energetically, you know, and to receive it, not just give it, then how to approach the day or the interaction or getting the kids to, you know, um, have lunch or to go out to the school or to go out with you somewhere. If you're willing to communicate the way they communicate, which is a full journey in a split second, boom, then you can communicate with them anything you desire from them, for them to get up, for them to brush their teeth, for them to go and have breakfast, for them to then get dressed, for them to then go downstairs and get into the car with you, and then go to the store with you, and then come back. If you just give them that whole image, you know, without any form or structure of the mind, just boom, the whole thing, then it's so much easier for them to um, communicate, receive it, and to communicate with you as well.
And I think there is, I'm going to ask a question on energy later. But before that, actually, I really want to talk about anxieties, right? Just now you mentioned anxieties. We have seen our individuals, they do a lot of repetitive and stereotypical movements with bodies. And in the relationship segment, we learned that these are soothing behaviors required by individuals for their minds and their bodies. And we also recognize those repetitive movements to deal with their heightened awareness. When I talk about access, we say, okay, what we call as stimming or stereotypical behaviors, that is due to the heightened awareness. Our children have a very heightened awareness, and sometimes that really lead to a lot of anxieties. So how can we empower our children and families to deal with the awareness with ease?
You know, it's so interesting when we talk about in access, we talk about humans, humanoids, and also, you know, techies or, you know, um, but this reality, I don't know if you have this. I do know that you have this, but it's a joke that in the morning, whether it's raining or not, the sun rises
Yes.
every day. It goes from east to west, and every evening there is the sunset, you know? And that's something that happens every
Whether
day,
we, whether we see it or don't see it.
whether we see it or don't see it. And when we're actually willing to gift ourselves the watching of the sunset. Is it ever the same?
No.
No, no. So,
Ev- Every time we
yeah.
see it, it's beautiful than before.
And it's so funny because I'm always taking pictures of the sunset. And I know it's, oh, this one is in Brazil and this one is in India and this one is, and it's just such a delight for me every day. So when we're talking about routines, you know, doing the same thing, and, sometimes that gives kids, the structure of life so that they can be sure that, yes, the sun is going to rise every day. Yes, it's going to set every day. This is the way I'm going to have my meal. This is the way I'm going to have to, go through the day. That is the structure of the day. But what is the presence with the sunset that we are that allows us to enjoy it as if it were the first sunset of our lives? What is the presence we can be with those kids, with that structure, that each and every time it's like the first day of our lives, and not going into the wrongness of them. Oh, they've got autism every day, even though it's the same structure, they're not doing it the right way, and blah, 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 blah. Think about the sunset and the sunrise and know that, yes, it's part of their lives, but they're so super hyper present, right? That it's not something that is not the first moment of their lives, And if we're not going into judgment about it, if we're not going into making them wrong about it, we can live those moments of that, those routines with them, and enjoy them in a way that doesn't have them going into feeling bad, but that actually allows them to do it and maybe you have fun with it. And maybe you will be willing to discover some element that can be changed in that. And this is when in access consciousness, when we talk about humans and humanoids, it's not about judging anything or anyone. It's about looking for change in your everyday routine. Most humanoids, to do something the same way every day is so uncomfortable for them. We put probably we could call it humans and humanoid autistic, with autism, because
It's
that's the way we are. And how much do we have to reduce ourselves, right? To do the same thing in the same way every day and not be bored. So if we're willing to see ourselves also from that perspective, that we actually love to explore new possibilities. We actually love to, even if it's the same thing we've done, how can we do that a little bit different so that we stay present and we don't shut off our consciousness, shut off our awareness, and just walk through that journey of the day as if it was marching toward the grave, you know? So, how many of us are actually, maybe they weren't labeling autism when we were born, thankfully. How many of us actually have those capacities also that children born and with autism have? And if we're willing to acknowledge that we have them as well, you know, maybe we can have that conversation with them like we have with our bodies, saying, honey, I know this is boring. Energetically, I know this is boring. We just have to do this, but we will have some fun while we're doing it. What would that be like? We will have some fun. Maybe not today, but believe I'm always ready to explore what else we can do together. And if you give them that vision energetically, then they're willing to keep doing that and waiting for the fun. But don't lie to you or to them energetically, and be present. And because not only is it boring maybe for them, it could be boring for you too.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Does that make sense?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
cool.
presence is something which is the first step to everything, to anything. Even before
Absolutely.
consciousness, presence has
Yeah,
to be there. Presence leads to consciousness, and then I think other things will start. I mean, of
right.
course, I'm just
Yeah. Well,
in a laymanish term trying to just.
it's so simple,
Mm,
right? So we're having conversation and we're using different things, but the presence is so simple that when we are giving our minds more importance than our essence, than our bodies, than our beings, right? Then simplicity is not easy for the mind. Because what am I going to do? How can I, what do I have to do? What do I have to do? What do I have to do?
100
Relax.
variables to think about. So my
Relax.
mind has
Take a
the
little
capability to
vacation.
make. Yes, yeah.
Take a little
Mind has the cap.
vacation.
Sorry, yeah, please, yeah, take a little
No, no.
vacation.
Take a little vacation, mind. Thank you so much for being here with me. I'm going to gift you a little vacation, and I will not abandon you, right? Don't abandon me, but please relax, and I will guide us for the next 10 seconds and play with that. So when we're disconnected from ourselves, once we have connected with ourselves, and it's easy to recognize when we're disconnected, but we have a fast route, a fast track back to us. And the mind does not have to live our entire lives for us. Writing the possibilities that each day brings is not something that the mind can actually do without us being engaged energetically, physically, and also consciously.
Uh, Now I would like to take the conversation to fears. I don't know if you know that most of the families struggle with the basic hygiene, say like cutting hair, cutting nails. Um, Children are putting everything in mouth, which could be harmful. Feeding difficulties, toilet training, going to certain places, fear of newness, fear of certain things. And those fears basically start interfering in the lives of individuals and become a barrier in learning or meeting people or say making friends. So what suggestions would you give to our families to overcome their own and their children's fears at various levels, like fears at sensory levels, fear at perceptual level, fears at a social level, because this is one of the biggest challenges families are facing. So how
Yes,
consciousness play a part in helping with this limitation?
yes. Well, what if fear were not a limitation, but it were a halfway stop, is what I call it, on the road to excitement? you know with access, we have, there are so many tools that there's I was so delighted to and it's almost been 20 years that I've been engaging with access, when I read about something we call distractor implants. Right, implants is something that's implanted in the mind, right? um, and sometimes in the body, you've got sometimes something implanted in your tooth, you know what I mean? But fear is one of them, you know, anger, rage, fury, hate, blame, blaming yourself, shame, feeling shameful, guilt, those are so distracting that I was so delighted to hear about this and read about this and I, share it also with people, because fear often has a similar vibration of excitement.
Mm,
And if we stop and disconnect and go into panic because we are experiencing what we've identified as fear, then we don't expand our zone of awareness to see what new, what challenge, what maybe risk, right, is showing up for us that is not necessarily going to cause failure or is going to have something disastrous happen. That might be opening up the doors of possibilities to things that we have not yet identified, defined, you know, put into a box, you know, and written the name on it and know exactly what it is, you know. So why we're here at this time on the planet and why we chose to come here. You know, I know that you have Love India and, you know, the way of engaging with in a medical, traditional medical ways, but also holistic. And so why have we chosen to come here now? And what are we creating with each choice that we make that opens up some new possibilities that we've never actually identified before or seen before? So what we see as fear is, oh my goodness, this is showing up in a different way. Oh, oh, oh. But if we don't stop there and look back and look instead, look forward, and what is going to show up now, then the excitement, the increase in the volume of our vibration, right, will actually change the world, change the world. I remember um, horses, riding with horses, and really wanting horses to move a little bit faster, and really, you know, concentrating on, you know, connecting with the earth, pulling up the energy from the horses, expanding them. Come on, horsey, stop galloping. Come on, let's run, let's run. The moment the horse started running, right, I stopped the horse because I stopped at the fear moment. Ah, ah. And instead of allowing that fear to expand into an excitement phase. So it was such an interesting, and animals are great, the simplicity of animals, but the duplication, the mirror, the way in which they have their relationships with their families, with their, you know, partners, with their with the planet is so similar to ours. And so the first couple of times when you're experiencing fear or anxiety or, you know, focusing on something and not being present, right? Use this question. It's such a great question. If I were not distracting myself by this, by fear, by cutting the nails or, you know, whatever, the hair or whatever. If I were present and not being distracted by this, what would I be aware of? And just wait for a millisecond after you ask that question and see if what you've identified as fear, what you're feeling, you know, changes. You know, and you can ask the question so many times. That's why I so love this, you know, fear. If I'm feeling fear, I say, oh my goodness, let me stay with this fear for 10 seconds, just because there's obviously something here that can be exciting for me if I'm willing to see it. So am I ready to see it? Am I ready to see it? Okay, stay with the fear for a minute. Okay, let's go beyond the fear. Let's go to the next stop on this train called life. It's a halfway stop on the way to the journey called life that can be beyond your wildest imagination. Yeah.
An amazing question to be asked. And the same question we can ask to our children and expand, right? Help them to expand and get the awareness. Look at
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is about engaging, you know, with the universe, because we have these physical bodies, But if you think about those space between the molecules and the space in your body and the molecules that are all around the planet, we're connected with that and in the universe, you know? So our infinite being, right, is not just inside the body because it's all over the universe. I mean, it's a little bit, we can't even get that big for the universe to fit into our bodies. So our bodies are actually infinite beings, and our bodies are actually present in the universe. So if we are willing to have a flow of communication with that, engaging the universe, asking the sun every morning, I go out and look up at the sky and see, I'm here in the States now. I live in Rome in Italy, but I'm here in the States now. And it was raining outside, but I went outside and I asked, universe, show me the magic. And even though it's raining, I see where the sun is, connecting with you in whatever way works for you. But with the 7 steps, I invite people, ask the universe to show you the magic. Talk to your body so that when you're connected with you, you realize when you're disconnected, and you can reconnect by engaging with the universe. And using the tools of access are just so amazing to see from a different perspective everything that shows up in your life. Interesting point of view, I have just one point of view. Interesting point of view, I have this point of view. Interesting point of view, I have this point of view. And you begin shifting the fixed point of view that you have into an interesting point of view where you have every point of view available to you and no fixed point of view. And the way that it shows up in your life is as if by magic. Yeah.
Such a great tool you have just shared with us. Interesting point of view. So now let's turn our conversation to look at autism differently. Gary Douglas says that autism is the question no one else is willing to be. Please help us to understand this statement.
Yeah.
From Gary, you have to help us.
I mean, we're talking. Gary's so amazing, so grateful for him being in body in this time period. The the right brain, left brain structured way in which we think and act and engage with other people, right, is quite prevalent in this world, in this reality. When someone is engaging with us without any fixed point of view, without any judgment, without any blocks or barriers, right, then for us, it's not that comfortable, right? And what Gary talks about is, are you willing to be uncomfortable? If you're willing to be uncomfortable, that means that you're willing to actually begin inviting change into your life that will open up your consciousness in a way that you have never even imagined. I was once at a wedding in the north of Italy, and there was a friend, his daughter is autism, and she's a teenager. And a lot of times it's not comfortable for them to look at people in the eye, or to talk. She wasn't, articulating and verbal. So I was looking over at the trees, and I was communicating to her with images, and I was connected to my body, and I began feeling some movement in my body that she was actually communicating to me with images, And so at a certain point, I turned around and looked at her, and she was looking at me right in the eye. And she smiled, and her dad came up, and he said, "Hey, what's going on here?" And she looked over at her dad, and he was so shocked. that she was actually looking at him, because she didn't often do that, you know? And he, instead of going into resistance, he actually began to warm up and smile. And so we were standing there, the three of us, in silence with a communication that was tickling, right? The insides of us. And when the mom came over, we all looked at, the three of us looked at her and smiled. And she went into a little bit of panic at that moment. And what else shows up? So this, the awareness that Gary has, and I was at one of his first X-Men classes in Australia. The awareness that he has is not making someone right, you know, or making someone wrong. It's inviting them to just be who they are. And as Dr. Dane here, the co-creative access consciousness says, if you're willing to be you, you can and will change the world. So what is our capacity with autism? That if we're willing to embrace it, we actually will not only 8,000 miles, but 8 trillion miles, and be that flawless communicator, not only with people in front of us and present here now, but beyond any time, space, dimension, or reality.
Not linear.
Say it again.
Beyond linear.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And access is an invitation for that. Of course, there's some very simple things we can, this world. What I would like to invite people to, just in our, closing here, is when you have your eyes closed, what do you see? We're so used to really making everything about those easy 5 senses, that we have in bodies: taste, smell, hearing, vision, touch, right? If we were to go beyond those, what are our capacities beyond those 5 senses, that if we were willing to access each and every one of them, we would recognize that we're living in this sort of structured reality, but we do have the capacities that these beautiful beings who come to the planet and are tagged as, with autism, that they have come here and are inviting us to explore. Yeah. And it's a gift for them that we say, look, honey, okay, I know that you are, beyond this reality. Let me just help you see how you, just to exist in this reality, what you have to do. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just showing you how living here on this planet in this reality, we have to do it. But please do not abandon your capacities that are beyond this reality. It's just a different approach.
Yeah, and this communication to them is really a gift to them, to help them to acknowledge their capacities, but at the same time also make a choice to be in this reality for ease.
Yes. And
with ease, I would say, with ease, yeah.
With ease, yeah. And I say it's nice to have some moments, right, that you can give them where they don't have to do the structure. You know what I mean? It's
Yes.
almost, you might even want to have two different, stickers. Okay, we're in this reality structure now. Here's the sticker, do this. And then, hey, we can play. And would you be willing to do it too? I have a client, I do lots of private sessions. I have a client with a child. She had so much difficulty at the beginning with the child, ADD, ADHD, all these things, right? And when she brought him to me, he was touching all the things in my house, and she was trying to stop him. And I was said, listen, these things have been here for so long. It's not going to break them. Please don't stop them. And what we were willing to invite was his communication with us energetically of what showed up for him while he was touching things. And he was touching the wood, Minnie. He was touching the wood on a bookshelf that I have. And what we both got, without going into resistance, was the image of the trees from which that wooden bookshelf was built. The
Wow.
trees, and so this is the invitation with, communication that I would like to be. If you're willing to see things from other people's perspectives, not have a fixed one point of view, knowing that each and every one of us has a different approach to life, then the curiosity with which you engage with people is an invitation for them to show you their magic. Yeah. And so they have a very different relationship now. And he's not choosing so much autism anymore. And now she doesn't know what to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
You already answered the next question. So you already told us that their language is energy, and we talk verbally, but they talk through energy. And this is a huge mismatch between us and them. And my question was, please help our audience to understand that how can we train our muscle to step up to their way of advanced communication instead of always trying to pull them to our limited way of verbal communication.
Yes. Well,
Yes.
this connecting with our bodies, it's a really simple way. That's what these 7 steps to flawless communication. What is the simple way that you can invite people to get connected with them?
Right.
And I don't know if you know, I have the book in Hindi as well.
Yes,
I
the
had
book.
the little,
Go on.
the 7 steps to flawless communication. I have it in 20 languages. Yeah, cool.
Oh, I'm sorry because the background is there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I have
Anyway,
it.
it's
Yeah.
only
Yeah. Yes.
accessconsciousness.com
Yes.
/shop. But the the way that we communicate is through energy. And even when we're using words or we're using expressions, or we're singing, or dancing or moving with our body, when we are connected with ourselves, then how we're communicating is often with 1 sentence of words and 10 sentences energetically. So you are already communicating energetically. If you acknowledge that, then you choose what is that energetic communication you would like to gift to people. It's just because you're saying, oh, I like you very much. Yes, I think you're beautiful and I think you're very nice energetically. That's not the communication. If you say, I don't like you so much. I don't know why. I just don't like you so much. What you're saying energetically is, I love you. Yeah, I love you. So when you're connected with you and you recognize that you are communicating energetically, even when you're in silence or even when you're using words, what I ask people, Cass, ask people is to have clarity on what is the the vibe, the energy, the target of your communication. And in this particular conversation with your child or with the people with autism, what is your desire? To have more ease or just to make them do what you want to do? Have clarity about that. Be honest with yourself about that. And if it's about having more ease and inviting them to have more ease, then you can begin communicating energetically with yourself. What is it that I can be, do, create, generate today that will get me closer to what I would desire to have in my life? Universe, show me the magic. And see, don't look down. You can look down, but make sure you look up, to the right, to the left, because God, Allah, Buddha, Shiva, the universe, the angels will bring it all to you as, with ease.
And yes, we asked for the magic and we just got it when you said, what do you want? Have clarity.
Yeah.
You want the
When
gift.
I do,
You want the gift they are, or you want them to do what you want them to do.
Yeah.
So that's like that. I think it just summarizes everything.
Absolutely.
By having this yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. What?
No, I mean, it just summarizes everything, that why we are having this conversation in the first hand.
Yes. And that's when we're talking about flawless, when I talk about flawless communication, and this is what, I'm so grateful for Gary Douglas, because he's the one that, pushed me to, you got to write books, you got to share what you know with people, right? And so, the seventh step is connecting with the earth. And I asked him, okay, if the first phase is about connecting with you, the second phase is about disconnecting from who you are not, third phase is about reconnecting, engaging the universe, expanding your zone, what do I call the fourth phase? It's only got one step. It's called, he said, so what is the name of the seventh step? And I said, it's connecting with the earth, and he said, well, that's about establishing true connection. And so I'm very grateful for that. And so what is the true connection that we can establish with ourselves and with others? It's through the earth, because we're all at home here. And so when you know you're at home, then you never feel out of place. And when you're with someone with autism, and as Gary says, they're willing to be and have access to what we may not be willing to be, how can you activate your unique flawless communication and have ease with everything and everyone that shows up in your life? Even if it's not easy or comfortable, you have ease with discomfort and with change. And this is what we're here for, to enjoy this ride, this voyage called life. Yeah. That's it.
Please help us to understand allowance now, when you have helped us to understand so much. So what do families and professionals and individuals require? What do they need to do to outweigh their allowance? What changes will the planet begin to see if it happens?
Well, it's allowance. We talk about, there's the book in Access, 10 Keys to Total Freedom. There's an amazing telecall series called, the 10 Commandments of Access. And allowance is one of them. It's interesting point of view, right? So it's about non-judgment. That's what the interesting point of view is. It's about non-judgment and really being willing to see things from different perspectives, so that you have no fixed point of view, which allows you to have all points of view. People used to call me diplomatic, because I say, yeah, that makes sense. Yep, that makes sense too. Well, they're the opposite. Yeah, they both make sense though. They both, So when we're talking about allowance, first and foremost, have it for you. You know, have allowance for you. Oh, I'm having a little bit of reaction. I really want to, stop this or stop that. But don't go into resistance for you, because if you're in allowance and you're functioning from interesting point of view, then what is it about that point of view, right? That if you're not in resistance to it, will give you an additional awareness, you know? So this combination, and this may be a lot, this combination of communication with our minds and our bodies, right? When we're not being in allowance, it is something knocking at your door. That's, something is triggering your body that's causing a little resistance or reaction, right? You might be feeling a little bit completely in line with something or resisting to it. What is it, if I'm willing to see it from a different perspective, from a different point of view, that would give me the awareness of a change that's being asked for? It's a very, um, it's a very big, huge gift when you're not in allowance, right? Because it's your awareness, your consciousness that is so big at the moment that you, if you're willing to acknowledge, I'm not in allowance. This is exciting. There must be something I'm conscious about that I am avoiding by being out of allowance. So you can invite your allowance to catch up with your consciousness. Come on, allowance. Come on, baby. Come on, allowance. Catch up with the consciousness. Catch up with the consciousness. And then, and then you can say, now, what is it that had me going into judgment or resistance or reaction, that if I were willing to look at it from a different perspective, interesting point of view, would open up more possibilities for me. You know, if somebody comes up to you, if somebody says something to you, if something shows up and you're not feeling an allowance, you're not wrong. You're actually aware of something that if you don't resist you and you don't resist your lack of allowance, if you go into interesting point of view, you'll not only, right, have allowance. Interesting point of view, I have that point of view. Interesting point of view, I have that point of view. Interesting point of view, they have that point of view. You'll not only go into opening up your allowance, but you were not denying your consciousness that activated that lack of allowance. I hope that's clear for you. I'm so sorry that you can't be wrong. Even if you're not in allowance, you can't be wrong. That's one of the gifts of access, to invite you to recognize you can't get you wrong.
Because you are working from your knowing, you have a
Yeah,
knowing,
and
and
you know,
as you said,
and go ahead.
you started this conversation with saying that you are consciousness. I mean, that is what you are,
That's
right?
who we are.
Yeah.
That's
So
who we are. But you notice how in the beginning, it's and that happens and that shows up. And that's why I ask people to have really clarity about what your target is. Because in the beginning, if you're clear about what it is you would like to obtain, what it is you would like to experience, what it is you would like to have. I mean, there's just different ways to say it. In Access, we say, what is your target? You know, then you start your journey. You know, so we start the conversation, but you know where you want to um, arrive. So you're moving forward in that way. And if you do not block any of the choices that show up for you, then you may not get to that destination that you chose, that you originally started with. Um, but where you arrive and the journey you take might be beyond your what you've ever imagined. So shooting at the, your target being shooting at the moon, but hitting the stars, Jupiter or Mars or one of the planets somewhere else. And you never go wrong. And that's when I started with Access. I was like, okay, this is fine. I'm going to find out. This is what they say that's going to happen. That's okay, fine. I'm going to see about that. I'll see about it. And just kept, you know, going forward, going forward. I even forgot to get back to anybody about what I did or did not receive because it was so much beyond my wildest imagination. Yeah.
And what you just said, we might have wanted to shoot a movie, but when we got a child with autism, so beautiful, so capable, we actually might have shot a star in a different galaxy altogether.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And why
What
are we here? Why are we here?
is
There's never, there's no mistakes. There's no coincidences. And even if anything ever shows up for you and you don't choose it, and please don't regret it because it will show up in so many different ways in the future. So if you're having the gift of a child with autism, what is it that you came here, you know, to do and to be and to enjoy? That this is actually being a gift for you to do, and you're doing these amazing, you know, conferences and Zooms and interviews. And would you be doing them if you didn't have the life you have now? Would you be meeting them? Would we have met? The lovely Dr. Shubra, you know, introduced us. I'm so delighted. If I had not chosen, you know, to go to India, I may not have met her. You know, what is it that's showing up in your life? This weird guy who's, you know, I mean, just so many things. This weird guy, this weird name was signing up for all my classes online and live, you know, Ratan Deep Singh. Who the heck is that? What is that? You know? And I was like, I think it might be, you know, of course, like somebody who's like, you know, faking it. Um, and it wasn't. And it wasn't. And so what do we think is a fake in our lives? What do we think is a something we're resisting, something we're not in allowance of? That if we invite our allowance to catch up with our awareness and our consciousness of what's showing up, right? It'll open the world to new possibilities. And don't worry, if you don't, you know, take it now, receive it now, it'll show up again in a different way in this lifetime or maybe another one.
Absolutely, yeah. So how can we miss talking about access bars when we are talking about access consciousness? Let's end our conversation with a note on bars that how is it a doorway to consciousness?
Well, you were talking about the mind so much. There's lots of different things that are 32, you know, that are different points on the head, but the axis bars, those 32 points on the head, when lightly touched, release the electromagnetic component of thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs, and all of that. And really allow you to approach the day, right, and life with much more ease. A lot of times you do some sessions, I don't know if you've ever done them, and you know, you finish the session and you feel a little foggy or you feel a little, you know, sleepy. The thing about the access bars, I mean, which is just incredible, is that when you finish gifting or receiving, you know, giving or getting a session, is that you finish and you have such clarity. Your eyes are open and your mind is not boom, 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 boom. And you see things without any judgment. The judgment is what I want to say, but any sharp point of view, but just with clarity and from different points of view and different perspectives. And it allows you to choose something that is in line with consciousness, in line with your vibration, in line with the universe, in line with what will, you know, bring you ease and joy and glory. It's just amazing. It's just different, you know? I love the bars. I love Access bars, and the tools. They're great, all of them. And Access is not the answer. Access is the question that invites you to discover what is the answer, the response, the choice for you that will create more in your life, in your family life, in your business, and in the world. Yeah.
We have come to the end of our conversation. It was such a revelation talking to you. Would you like to just end this conversation with an end note? Any message you have for our audience, like a very...
Absolutely. We started it with this, and we can end it with this. Please know that there's no way that you can get you wrong. There's no one in the world that does you better than you. Please know that. And you are a vital part of this world, this planet, this universe, because your vibration is slightly different than others and can be engaged with others to create more space, more consciousness, more energy, and more choice for this world. And using the magic, engaging with the mystery, the miracles, and the possibilities of the universe and beyond. There's so much more that unites us than separates us. Please know you are a gift. You always have been, and you always will be. Please receive you.
Yes. On behalf of PlayStreet team, I would like to thank you again for your valuable time and sharing your knowledge with us. I hope all the viewers got a perspective that how our children function from awareness, and raising them requires a way more consciousness than we think. A conversation with Kass has opened so many new channels of thought for us to explore, so many channels of thoughts for us to explore. I hope we all become the magical adults, those who are willing to step beyond the judgment into what our kids actually know. Parents and siblings and relatives, teachers and therapists and administrators, peers and loved ones and friends, all will benefit from this conversation, and I hope would start a journey of consciousness. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Take care and goodbye.